Welcome to a Profound Sit Down, where we explore the stories and strategies behind the IT partners helping shape the future of business technology. I'm your host, Kevin Buzza, owner and COO of Profound Technologies. We're an audiovisual systems integrator, helping organizations build Microsoft Teams rooms, Zoom rooms, and large-scale collaboration spaces, from boardrooms to auditoriums. Today, we're excited to spotlight one of our trusted authorized agents and partners, Brian Pickell, the president of KPInterface. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Kevin.
A leading managed IT services firm based in Pennsylvania. With more than 2 decades in the industry, Brian and his team specialize in delivering comprehensive IT solutions from proactive managed services to cybersecurity, cloud migration, and strategic consulting. So, Brian, I'm curious about just your background and how you got into KPInterface.
Sure. Well, my background's a little unique. It's kind of an interesting story. After high school, I went to college, but I didn't go to any college. I went to St. Charles Seminary. So I was studying to become a Catholic priest. So it was a 9-year program, and I did 5 years there. So it was a great experience. Studied philosophy and theology and Latin and Greek. And
I love it.
Not typical background educationally for an IT or business career, right? But after 5 years, I discerned out of the seminary, decided to leave and explore the world a little bit. I wasn't necessarily totally committed to not going back, but I wanted to see what the world had to offer and make sure that if I was going to go in that direction, that it was definitely for me and I was going to be able to commit to it for lifelong, commitment. So I left and I needed to get a job. I had been working in a camp company for the summers and they had offered me to come on full time, but I decided I didn't really want to be in that environment at the time. So then I had a couple other offers of different things, but this one offer came to work in a computer consulting company. And I knew nothing about computers. I don't think I owned a computer at the time, but they said they would train me on the job and it sounded like a good opportunity. And I knew computers had a future. So I took the opportunity and began with a small consulting firm, consulting a mid-sized business and learned on the job really how to do all different types of, computer support and eventually network administration, et cetera. So that's how I got started in the business. From there, I joined another firm, which was small, and we were growing it. So I kind of was in a part of a startup company and grew that for about 6 years. And then really what happened was decided to venture off into my own. Wanted to chart my own course, wanted to bring a certain level of value and quality to the small to mid-sized business marketplace, which I didn't think was really being served in the way it should be. So we went off, a partner and I, named Matt Kirby and I, we started our business in 2006. So,
wow, interesting. And I don't know if it'll make the final cut, but part of my story is, in fact, I also wanted to go into ministry.
No way.
Coming out of high school, yes, it's crazy.
Wow.
And here we are. People that ended up in IT. But yeah, I eventually went to seminary in my 30s. It's just wild that we both kind of took that path.
Well, I think there's a lot of aspects to it that serve us in terms of business in particular. I don't know so much about technology, but certainly business in terms of relationships, communications, leadership, and things like that. So for me, it was important.
I agree. Funny story. So you started in 2006. A lot has changed over that time period. Can you just describe, how KPInterface exists now? What is your main offering and how are you supporting your customers?
Sure. So the main offering in terms of what we did back then and what we do now is not too unsimilar. Really, we started in 2006 where we were providing fixed fee managed services to customers. Now, that was not a real popular thing until probably about 2016, 2017 when it really took off. So we were really at the forefront of that movement of providing fixed fee recurring type services to clients. But we knew our stuff and we knew that it was basically, a risk that we were taking, but at the same time, we thought if we could manage it properly, we could be very successful. So from that point, what we did is we grew our services in different fashions. So we went from just offering, say, managed technology and support and administration to offering things such as voice over IP services, to offering cloud services, backup services, and eventually security and compliance services as well. So that's how we grew the service side up. From a organizational standpoint, the way we grew is, of course, we acquired one company back in 2011, and we just kept adding various people with different skill sets over the years.
Okay, that's good. Now, from just knowing you and reading on your website, you can see you really focus on the client experience, reliability, responsiveness.
Sure.
What is it key to your approach that lends itself to that?
Yeah. I would say the key to that whole approach of really offering the best client experience you can starts with leadership in the company. The company itself has to be committed to that. And that's something that is part of my background, has something to do with it too. You want to provide the best experience for anybody in life or in business if you can. So for me, I wanted to make sure that everybody was going to feel satisfied and thrilled with working with KPI. So it starts there with kind of a vision and a mentality and a philosophy of the company itself. But in order to implement that, it takes a few other things that need to be there as well. Number one, you have to have the right people who share your vision and share that philosophy alongside you. It's got to be really part of their character more than anything. I mean, you can kind of teach customer service skills a little bit, but you can't teach the willingness to want to be that type of person who's providing that. So we have just over time just kept building better people and finding better people and improving who we have on our team. So we now have, I would say, a very consistently across the board level of talent and willingness to provide that level of service. The second thing is process. You have to have processes in place that are going to offer you the ability to deliver consistent types of customer service. So, you can hit a home run with one person, you can hit a home run with one issue, but to do it consistently day in, day out from issue to issue, you've got to have certain processes that are in place that can deliver a high level quality service. And then the third thing is technology needs to be a part of it. It needs to help you. You've got to give your people who are providing the customer service the tools so they can get their job done better and you can service those customers better. So whether it's, the systems that our employees are using to help facilitate the service, right? Whether it's ticketing system or other tools to troubleshoot issues or solve issues or proactively prevent issues from happening. That's one aspect of it. The other side is the client side of technology, making sure that their interaction with us is as seamless as possible through the technology we're offering. So for example, a couple of years ago, we launched a client portal. It's an investment, but it's very comprehensive. It's very streamlined where everything exists in one portal from, their service tickets to their technology reports, to their quotes, to their contracts, to training, all types of things in one portal. So we're trying to give as much transparency and clarity to the client as we can.
That's good. Can you talk a little bit about the stack of services that you offer? And I know there's a lot,
Sure.
Whether it's, the managed IT or over your voice over
Sure.
IP, endpoint management, but what are some of the pure plays?
Yeah, sure.
KPInterface software.
Absolutely, sure. So it all starts for us with what we call our VCIO offering, which is really strategic planning and collaboration with the business. So we always take an approach with our clients with looking at their businesses first. What are they doing? What are they trying to accomplish? Where are they headed? What are their strategic objectives? And how is technology really helping them achieve those objectives? So we start typically with an assessment. It's a deep dive assessment. It involves surveys. It involves interview with key personnel. And then it involves looking at their technology where it is today and comparing that to best practices and best standards. So that's how we first start. So that VCIO plays a major role in leading that effort. And then there's ongoing consulting and management from there. We meet typically at least quarterly with our clients to review, again, those same things as things progress and change going forward. The second thing we offer, of course, is network administration and network support, computer support. So we're there each and every day to make sure that the systems are operating, clearly and well every day. And then beyond that, we offer in the managed services piece anyway, lifecycle management procurement as well for our clients. They typically don't want to be involved in how to spec out their technology, et cetera. It's not something that's really in their bailiwick to do. So we offer that service to them as well. On the cybersecurity side, very similar. We offer a complete stack of cybersecurity services, and we can dive into that later. But we offer cybersecurity technology that is going to allow them to be protected proactively. But also we offer consulting in that respect as well, right? Advising them on their own processes, procedures, and policies they should have in place, as well as compliance needs they might have as well, depending on their own particular needs or industry. And then finally, there's other things we offer, of course, things like cloud solutions. I mentioned voice over IP solutions. There are web development solutions that what our partners offer, which I'm sure we'll get into later as well. So it goes from there and expands into all types of different areas of technology.
So one of the things I think is helpful for our listeners is just maybe understanding a particular case study or something where you can talk about a technical or operational issue that you help to solve for a customer. It may have involved a few of these different, kind of disciplines.
Sure.
What can you think of about it?
Sure. I'll give one example. We have a manufacturing client that, had basically everything brick and mortar in their own building. They had servers still existing in their building, and they really felt hamstrung by having a system that they had to manage all the time and keep up and back up, et cetera. So we really helped them strategize about how to move everything to the cloud to give them flexibility and versatility, security and stability throughout their whole environment. They are a national, now international company. So we were instrumental in making sure that happened over a very methodical, way that, of course, never saw them be down, but also now gives them the versatility to move forward in a much, faster way, a more innovative and adaptive way going forward. So that's one example of taking technology that, say, might be on premise or and then moving things to the cloud in a proper way. It's one example.
Sure. Was there anything particular to one of or many of the implementations that helped add a lot of efficiency to the organization, really allowed them to do more with less, I guess?
Yeah, I think one thing is that when you have any company that exists is going to add technology over time. So one of the studies we did is a full study of all the various technologies they were using. And what they found, which a lot of businesses would find if they do this, is that they're using technologies tend to overlap one another. Or they're using technologies that really not that many people are using, but they're paying for it. So what we did is a deep dive on what are all the technologies they're using, what are they spending on that technology, and how can we consolidate what they're using so that it's more efficient. One area we specialize in is using Microsoft products to really build efficiency into your environment. Now, a lot of people subscribe to Microsoft. Some people use Microsoft, but to many different degrees. And we find that a lot of our clients don't understand the power that Microsoft really can bring to the table when it is configured in a proper manner. So we help people to do is consolidate, for example, data storage points. So they're going to have data storage and file sharing throughout different means across the enterprise. You're going to have different people, different departments that want to do it their way, so to speak. But through leadership and through technology consolidation, you can get people to all be really playing in the same sandbox and be a lot more efficient with one another in terms of how they're sharing data and utilizing data.
So one of the things we want to talk about here is just adapting to new tech in the space.
Sure.
And, AI is something we're talking about all the time here and with our customers. And I think ChatGPT, I wouldn't say is my best friend, but is a very close relationship in my life.
Yeah, right.
And I think of many people. So I think the idea would be, how are you seeing AI, show up in the different applications that you provide? And then perhaps for extra credit, any particular implementations of Copilot or anything that you're doing on the Microsoft side that's of interest?
Sure. So there's two ways of looking at this. The first question is, what is AI doing for our own business, right? And how are we using technologically to help support what we do, okay? The other question really becomes is how is AI being used in the businesses we serve? So I'll start with the first and then I'll get to the second, if that's okay. The first way is we've implemented certain applications that have AI built into them, that are built for the managed services space. These are mostly things that enable us to drive automation in terms of what we do. I'll give you an example. We have clients that need to have people onboarded or offboarded all the time. This is a very important part to what they do as a business to make sure people are offboarded properly and securely. And there's technology is set up in a way that someone else can pick up the ball from where they left. And when people are onboarded, they want to make the best impression and get this person up and running as quickly as they can. So there's a lot of moving parts to that. But with AI, we've been able to automate a lot of that. I'll give you one particular example. So you might say, listen, we've got an employee that is going to be offboarded this Friday at 4:00. We need to have these 15 things done at 4:00 exactly. Well, in the past, what we'd have to do is we'd have to schedule somebody to be available, and then we have to make sure that particular person executed on those 15 different things. Well, now with AI, we can schedule most of those things to happen at 4 o'clock. We can automate most of those things to happen at 4 o'clock. So what we're seeing is utilization gains and time gains in our own staff by utilizing tools like this. And it's not just that, it's all types of other technologies that these systems can do. But what we're seeing is the ability to service more customers and more endpoints without having to necessarily add headcount at the same time. And that's where I think a lot of businesses are going to initially see the effects of a lot of AI and automation is the same way. They're going to see the ability to do things they were doing in the past, but in a much more consistent and automated manner, number one. And that'll drive consistency and quality overall. And then they're going to see, I think, performance gains by having people get things done a lot quicker than they would have in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea of the AI agents, the example you used of scheduling it at 4 o'clock on a Friday. How about for threat detection or anything else? Are you using that with your customers? How's that working?
We are, but it's mostly, for us, it's built into the products that we use. Okay, so we are, people that use pretty high quality security systems, Huntress, CrowdStrike, things like that have AI and automation built into them to detect threats. I'll give you an example of that though. So one product I'm happy to announce that we use is Huntress. And we've had a couple of occasions over the past couple of years where a threat did come into the environment and did cause a concern with a particular computer. Huntress has the ability to isolate that computer from the rest of the network though once it occurs that breach or that incident. So a perfect example was just in the past couple of weeks, we had a client who did not adopt the recommendations we recommended in terms of the level of security we'd like to have in place, et cetera.
How'd that work out for them?
Well, not too good, because one of the things is they had legacy technology that they should have offboarded and should have decommissioned, which they didn't do. So they got infiltrated. However, even though they weren't subscribed to the level of service we wanted them to be, we still had in place one of our technologies that, again, was able to isolate the threat once it occurred. And that saved them a ton of time and aggravation by making sure that we were able to get in there once it was isolated, rectify it, remediate it, get them back up and running in business. So we're obviously in conversation with them to upgrade their level of service in that area. But there's definitely an ability for the technology today to do a little bit more in terms of automatically detecting and remediating concerns that are out there.
Well, that's great. And that kind of maybe leads us a little bit more into cybersecurity. And we can continue with the theme of emerging technologies, but what are you seeing in the cyberspace? What are some of the emerging technologies or approaches that you're offering that customers are asking about?
Right. Well, I think on the cybersecurity side in particular, I think a lot of it really is driven by the threat vector that exists out there. So what we're seeing is, similar types of threats, but more sophistication in terms of how they're happening. So for example, if you take, something like crypto viruses, for example, they're approaching things in a different manner than they used to. Originally, they would come in and encrypt your files. Then they would ask for a ransom. You pay them the ransom potentially, and they would give you the keys to unencrypt your files. Businesses got better about making sure their backups were in place, because if you have backups in place, you can just restore those files, right? But now what these threat actors are doing is they are not holding out for the encryption key to give you the unencryption key, but actually holding out for reputational harm. So they're threatening customers. Exactly.
Share all that information.
Exactly. So, the key here, I think that the change is that companies are looking at technologies to better prevent that. I'll give an example of something we use that helps to automate things. So security is one of those things that companies either take seriously or they don't. And I find that too many companies at the top level don't take it seriously enough. They know they should have it, but they don't necessarily follow through or put the weight behind it that needs it to make sure it filters down to everybody. So one of the things that we recommend, of course, is that people, the users, are not admins on their local machines, right? Because any virus or any breach will come in and they'll use that admin privilege to spread themselves throughout the environment. So you have to make people just users of their machines. If you do that, They can't do things they used to be able to do. They can't add a printer, they can't add software, etc. And they feel like it could slow them down. So the first reaction is, well, we don't want this because it's going to slow us down business-wise. So we implemented a solution that automates the process of approving when they want to do something. So you want to install a printer to your machine, you can't, but when you try to, what happens is we get alerted saying, first of all, you get alerted saying, do you really want to do this? It wants to verify that you're doing it, not some breach or some virus or something. So then after you say, yes, I definitely want to do this, we would get it and we'd evaluate it. And we'd say, okay, if we thought it was fine, it was normal, we'd give you permission immediately to go ahead and continue on with your day, get that installed and move on. If not, then we're going to reach out to you. We're going to say, Kevin, we see you're trying to install this software. We don't recognize, we've never seen it before. Right. We want to verify that it is something you particularly need, et cetera. So, and we can also whitelist certain things too. Like it might be, say, Adobe Reader or something like that you're trying to install. But the automation part of it is important because what other companies have to do is they have to call their help desk. They have to let them know, I'm trying to get this done. They have to wait for the help desk to get back to them, and they have to schedule a time to do it. With us, it's literally seconds or minutes at the most to get that done. So we're trying to balance cybersecurity and business productivity with the use of automation and AI.
That's good. So for the customer out there that's evaluating cybersecurity, maybe one that hasn't traditionally taken it all that seriously, what are some of the key questions that you think they should be thinking about? Maybe that, since they're uninitiated, they don't know. What are some of the key questions you bring to the table? Right.
I think the first thing you want to evaluate with them is what the risk is and what the risk tolerance is, but really what the risks are to their organization. You have to understand, first of all, again, business-wise, what they do, who they're serving, what kind of data they work with, what kind of systems they have. And do an evaluation on all those things first and foremost and help for them to understand what are the areas of risk that they have and to what degree they have those risks first and foremost. When you evaluate those risks, what you often need to understand too is what the potential consequences could be if they were breached. And they need to understand that and understand the implications of that. The client I was speaking of earlier that had that breach that we were able to isolate, yes, we remediated it. It took us, 25 hours to make sure it's all fully remediated. But I did ask the question, do they have cyber liability insurance? And I don't think they do, or they didn't. But regardless, those are the kind of things we're going to talk about right up front, because you want to at least have the things in place, that you're going to mitigate your risk as best you can. Can you reduce risk to zero? Typically, no, you can't. But you can mitigate those risks. So that's the first thing I'm going to look at. The second thing I'm going to look at is, do you have the basics in place? Do you have basic things like, security from the perimeter? Do you have security in all your machines? Do you have security on in your password, systems? And we're going to look at those kind of things, making sure that those things are in place. The biggest threat to most companies today, and it has been this case for about the last 5 to 7 years, has been the human element of the organization. So hackers know it's difficult to breach a firewall typically, and to get around antivirus isn't the easiest thing to do. But if they can find a way to get into your environment through an email or through you browsing and clicking on something, that's the way most commonly they're going to get into your environment. So you have to then look at that from the user perspective in terms of where are they most vulnerable. And this is where AI is really changing the game a little bit, because for a while, you may have systems that detect some level of phishing that's occurring, but you also, sometimes it'll get through. But users over time, with a little bit of training, if they take it, can begin to discern, this really isn't something I think that should be legit. But the question then, what happens is, what happens when AI takes that phishing exercise, takes that phishing attempt, and makes it that much more believable, because they know tons more about you, because gathering that information is so much easier. They know tons more about the people you associate with. They know about the technologies you use. They can learn so much more quicker about you, and use that in a way to make it more believable that this is a legitimate, legitimate request, a legitimate email that you either need to click on or give information back to or take some action.
So is there, and I know it's not a one size fits all, but are there, your top 2 or 3 technologies that you're going to implement when bringing someone into a more secure position, whether it's, endpoint management or...
Yeah, one thing we're doing right now, Kevin, is that, a lot of people have been moving to the cloud or completely in the cloud. And most of our clients are in the Microsoft environment, right? So you're at, used to be called Azure Active Directory. Now it's called Entra ID. One thing we're doing is making sure that that is properly set up. So we have a technology that goes out and evaluates your complete setup against best practices, making sure that all the various areas where there could be a loophole are closed.
Sure, in their configuration management, for example.
Yeah. Exactly right. So that's one thing. The other things that I think that matter, and for us, unfortunately, it's not 1, 2, or 3 technologies. For us, our typical stack involves about 10. That's our lowest level, 10 cybersecurity technologies, and they tend to do different things in the environment. And if you have just one window open or one door cracked or one lock unlocked, you have the potential to be infiltrated. So we really need to make sure that we have all the belts and all the suspenders in place.
You've been a Profound partner for quite some time now, and I'm just curious what gave you the desire to want to partner with us and explain the value of that.
Sure. Well, as we were discussing earlier, Kevin, before this podcast today about partner relationships, we both recognize that partnering is critical to our business success for different reasons. One reason is because it does give us both the opportunity to bring new opportunities to our businesses through partners that trust what we do. But we also believe that it brings value to our customers by partnering with companies who are experts in what they do. And what we know in terms of what we do with managed technology is that we do the core of what we do really, really well. But we don't do a lot of things that our customers need to the level that we'd like to, or to the degree that they need it. So one of those areas is in communications and AV systems. Obviously since COVID especially, but even before that, but especially since COVID, people are working in a different way than they ever did before. People, even if they do work in an office, they're working from home several times a week. You have people we have clients, we have colleagues that are spread across the country, as I'm sure you do too. We have, of course, customers that are now across the country and across the world. So we just met with a new prospect the other day. It's in Alaska. Making sure that the communications are set up in a way that they're going to best serve what you're trying to do, right? First of all, and from a sales perspective, making your first impression. And everything that you do, whether it's the way you engage that opportunity, how you present your own services, how you show your differentiation between you and other providers, everything stems from the entire way that's done. And part of that is how you communicate and how you present yourself. So it's amazing that COVID is, we've been 5 years from the beginning of COVID, and you still see people who get on a call who are, not prepared, still can't use the technology properly, don't have a background that makes sense for what they're trying to convey, et cetera. But back to what your question was really about, why we decide to partner with others, and especially Profound, is because when we have clients who are engaging each other or engaging their clients and partners across the medium of audiovisual technology, they want capabilities going to make sure it's going to be effective and it's going to be a high level of quality. And we don't have that skill set. It's just not what we're really good at. So we want to make sure that we have a partner that we can rely on to introduce to our clients and say, look, if you want an excellent way to set up something from an AV perspective, we want to make sure we have a partner who can do that and do it really well and represent us really well. We want the client to be able to say at the end of the day, thank you so much for introducing us to Profound Technologies. That makes us look better. It brings greater value to our relationship with our customers, and that's what we're after.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So a little more on emerging technologies. We talked about AI. Didn't know if there's anything about Copilot. I can tell you with what we're dealing with, there's security, privacy issues for people wanting to perhaps use Copilot in the boardroom.
Sure.
For meeting summaries, for example, for facial recognition that has to do with, persisting with that storage of someone's identity.
Yep.
Are there any things related to Copilot implementations that you're dealing with?
I really can't speak to that to a large extent yet.
Okay.
We are really at the point where we've actually identified in our staff someone who is leading the efforts in terms of AI and AI guidance and implementation, et cetera. So, but it's been something we've been working on for maybe only the last 4 or 5 months, really. So we've implemented Copilot in our world as well, but we're still testing the waters out there. So I can't speak to it to a large extent. What I can speak to is this aspect of anything in terms of a large language model whatsoever, and that is the need for the company to have a clear idea of the policies and guardrails it needs to have in place in terms of how it is being used and what the risks are in using it. So that's something we're helping clients to guide them through, is to understand, okay, what technology you're going to use from an AI perspective and what are the inherent risks in that, right? Whether it be security, whether it be intellectual property, whether it be things like identity. And so we just want to help clients make sure that they are putting those policies and guardrails in place so that, for example, we have clients that might have people using ChatGPT, might be using Copilot or other large language models, and they have no idea how they're using them, what they're using them for, what information they're putting in there. There was a noted breach at Disney that happened within the past year where someone was using a large language model, put some information there, got breached, and disclosed some of Disney's secrets, which is a real problem. So if it's happening in a place like Disney, it can happen obviously just about anywhere. So really, just be careful. I would argue for the clients, just be careful putting the cart before the horse a little bit. Yes, we want to take advantage of this technology, but it's just like cloud. It's not that much different in this respect, that cloud technology can be great, and it is great in a lot of respects, but you have to know what you're doing with it before you just jump and go there. You have to understand, for example, every cloud provider is different in terms of how they back up their data, secure their systems. They're not all the same. It's not a cookie cutter. They're not all following exact same standards or implementing them in the same ways. So you have to do your homework or, lean on someone like us to help guide you and consult you in terms of, okay, is the vendor, is the platform you're using really safe or a right fit for your organization? So from that broad perspective is how we're looking at the implementation of AI in general.
Absolutely. Any other emerging technologies that are exciting to you, even if they're on the forefront, even if there are things that are still kind of on the workbench?
Yeah, for us, it's for us. We've done 2 major initiatives at KPI in the last 6 months. We've been basically a company that has helped other companies utilize technology, make sure it's secure, make sure it's backed up, make sure it's operating properly. But we've really been pushing people to take advantage of the things that are right in front of them more. So one of those areas is AI, but one of those areas is just in the Microsoft 365 environment to begin with. There's a lot of tools and technologies that are right there, low-hanging fruit that people are not taking advantage of. Simple things that can help your day become more productive. For example, a booking link. All right. Some of us in sales use them, no doubt. But there's a lot of people who could use something like that to just figure out, how much time do we have to go back and forth to figure out what time we're going to find a time that's right for both of us to meet? So that's been a game changer for me and for a lot of my staff. The other thing, simple as it may seem, is using technology that automates note-taking, obviously, and note organization from meetings. When I used to meet, even over Teams, I still had to write down or type in all the notes from that meeting. And while I'm writing things down or typing some things, I also got to pay attention to what the client is saying on the other end at the same time. But having automated note-taking and transcription and recording has become a big time saver as well. But not only time saver, but more accuracy. Now I can go back to my prospective prospect and say, hey, here's all the notes from the meeting we took. Now I'll verify them, make sure they're right, because they're not always right. And that's something with AI you got to be, concerned about.
Oh, sure. Get some sort of funny hallucination in there. That wasn't said. We didn't talk about that.
Exactly right. So you do have to, go back, whether it's, using ChatGPT or whatever, you have to make sure that the data you're getting is accurate. But it can be a great time saver. Now, not all of those systems operate or perform the same way. We've been happening to be using something called Crisp for the past year or so, and we find it to be fantastic. However, we had a couple of our computers at the office weren't handling Crisp right, and they decided to try to Teams note-taking.
Sure.
And although we're a big Microsoft shop, we found that it's been lacking in comparison to what Chris was able to do in terms of the performance, the level of performance, et cetera. So Microsoft will probably get there and probably make it more enhanced and make it a better competitor to other programs. But that's where we come in as consultants, is to help clients understand what the nuanced differences are between these different technologies.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, things as simple as it may sound as like a booking link or meeting summaries or modern day superpowers,
Sure.
with how much time they save you,
Right.
which kind of leads me to the idea of, I know with your VCIO and just your ongoing support, there's this concept of enablement. So you're meeting with the customer regularly.
Yes.
Talk to us about the types of training and the types of enablement you do in your process to help customers make better use of the technology that's there.
Sure. So a couple of things we're launching is really KPI Tech University this year. And what we're offering them are basically webinars that'll be kind of like course structured in terms of both AI and Microsoft 365. Those are our two big pushes. We think they are probably the most common areas of technology that clients either are using or want to use or have and are underutilizing that we can help bring more to the forefront. So it might be something as simple as SharePoint. A lot of our clients use SharePoint now from a perspective of file sharing and storage. But there's obviously other aspects of collaboration you can use SharePoint for. We're also looking at Power Automate in Microsoft to help, again, drive automation within clients as well. Automate certain tasks that typically would do manually, that they now can be automated without lifting a finger. So Microsoft has that power. We want to help clients get to utilize those powers that exist right underneath them they don't even know about. And the truth of the matter is, the reason they don't know about these, a lot of these businesses are busy serving their clients and they're not thinking about those aspects of technology. But that's why we exist. We exist to help them and discover, hey, what is emerging? What's out there? So our big two things are going to be AI and how it will drive your particular business, whether that's a large language model, private language model, something that's off the shelf that has AI built into it for your different industries. And on 365 in particular, how things can be further automated. We have a client right now, for example, in the wealth management field, that they want to use AI to determine what messages, email messages are coming through are important and not important, and how do they react to them automatically. So our staff is working with them to develop an AI system built on Microsoft technology that will enable them, based on the language that's being brought across in the email, determine what response or what happens with that message automatically. And we're in the process of helping them. It's kind of a custom solution we're doing for them, but it's something that we think we could also has utilization in other industries and other clients as well.
Sure, certainly. So bouncing around, going back to cybersecurity.
Yep.
Talking about some of the industry-specific safeguards that are necessary, and then also your role in helping customers specific to different verticals, financials and healthcare specifically, be compliant. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, sure. So, as an emerging aspect of our cybersecurity practice, it's developed into a compliancy practice as well, obviously. With most compliance, it involves two main components, and that is typically a process component, a process or policy component, and then a technology component. So, for example, when it comes to HIPAA, there are all types of expectations on the provider, the health provider, to have certain policies and processes in place. Okay, we work with another partner who has that capability, has a portal, has a training portal, has consultants that guide them in developing those processes and policies. Where we partner with them is making sure that the technology aspect of those compliance are where they need to be to meet the requirements. Okay. For example, just yesterday, I found out that one of our clients has a need to implement a new functionality technology-wise that's being pushed by one of their vendors that is being pushed by the compliance. And they need to implement a solution that is going to make sure it's compliant. So we'll be instrumental in helping to implement those solutions. Another area besides HIPAA we work a lot in is actually NIST or CMMC. We work with a lot of manufacturers, and we work with a lot of manufacturers who are subcontractors to Department of Defense contractors. So that has gotten a lot of attention over the last 5 years or so because of obviously the threat of certain types of information getting leaked out to foreign adversaries, et cetera. And the government has been trying to implement these standards for the last 5 years or so, and it's really ramping up. And it looks like it'll be taking full effect across the entire supply chain. So our role in that is to, again, bring partners to the table that can do. For example, you can't have too many people doing the same thing, right? For example, in any financial situation, you need to have an auditor who's independent of the people who are doing other aspects of financial services, et cetera. The same thing happens with CMMC as well. You need to have independent auditors. So we'll bring an independent auditor to the table. Our role in that is to make sure, again, that the technology and the technology processes and policies are in place for those clients to make sure they're meeting the various controls that are being required. So every compliance framework has a set of controls. A lot of them overlap one another, depending on the industry and the regulation that's been put out there. But our job pretty much is always the same, is to make sure we understand the controls that are required from a technology perspective and make sure those controls are put in place and are met, both one time and ongoing as well. We happen to use a platform that enables us to put the different controls that are in place depending on what your needs are. And then we can evaluate technology and develop those controls accordingly. For example, in our case, we're going for a SOC 2 certification. It's not required for MSPs to have it, but it is a major differentiator because only about 5% of MSPs have SOC 2 certification. So, and what we're finding is that more and more of our customers or partners are requiring their vendors to be SOC 2 compliant as well. Mm-hmm. So that is something that we're well aware of. Again, we have a platform that spells out all the controls, and then we go through and assign those different controls to different people to make sure they're going to be put in place. So it's a major effort for most organizations to go through that and to get certified, to stay certified. So we play a pretty instrumental role in that.
Sure. So I know that KPInterface is keeping a lot of different companies secure. What's the quick hit list of the industries that you are able to keep compliant for cybersecurity?
Okay. So again, I mentioned manufacturing. That's a big one for us. Another one would be healthcare, as you said, and HIPAA. We've done a lot of HIPAA work over the years as well. And I would say the third is what you mentioned as well, is also financial controls as well. So we have clients that are, either 401k advisors, wealth management providers, or we have clients that are in the banking industry as well. And so they're constantly getting audited. Actually, one of our first clients is still a client today now for almost 20 years. They are a credit union in New Jersey, and they get audited every single year. So, we play a role in that. We're not the auditors ourselves, but we have to respond to that and adjust the technology to keep up with the regulations that are there.
That's good.
One thing, Kevin, I just want to mention, if I can, it's maybe helpful, is that what's driving a lot of cybersecurity compliance, not from an official regulation perspective, but in terms of an industry standard perspective, is cyber liability insurance requirements. You may be aware, as a business owner, that cyber liability insurance requirements have gone from a one-page questionnaire 6 years ago to 25-page questionnaire today. And that is driving a lot of clients, whether they're regulated or not, into a certain level, base level of cybersecurity compliance. We, obviously have to do the same thing. And in our particular position as a provider and someone who has access to data and systems, we're held to a much more stringent level than the average company is. But even then, companies are being held to a higher level.
Well, Brian, this has been great. And it makes me wonder what's next for KPInterface.
Yeah.
Whether it's as you look ahead to the new technologies we talked about, of course, but just the future direction of your company, what you're most excited about.
Yeah, sure. There's two major things we've done in the last year and a half that have put us on a different track than we were in the past. The first thing we did is we hired a consulting firm that specializes in managed service provider growth and leadership. And they are helping me as a CEO to implement a whole new standard of both governance and leadership, but also financial execution and also service execution as well. So that's been a big shot in the arm to our firm, and it's given me the help that I need to be a better leader myself and to help put KPI on a different trajectory going forward. So we're very excited about that. We expect ourselves to grow substantially over the next couple of years and see what happens after that down the road. The second thing we implemented in the last 7 or 8 months is EOS. EOS is really a business system, a business organizational system that helps companies to set the organization on a very clear, concise path about what the vision, what the organization, what the meeting pulse, the goals and the objectives of the company are for the entire company to appreciate and try to attain. This has been a game changer for KPI because we now have, as I mentioned before, clear vision, clear values, clear objectives as a company, and it's shared by me and everybody else in the company. Everybody has the role to play in that, of course, but we're now swimming in the same direction in a way that we've never done before. And I think that has been a significant game changer because the employees want to know, where are we headed? Are we going to, we're going to be stable? We're going to be growing. There's going to be opportunity for me, et cetera. Well, now I can clearly communicate exactly where we're heading, both, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years down the road, where we expect to be. And it gives them excitement and a sense that, hey, I'm part of something important. It's part of something that's really going to be growing and going to be exciting. So that's what we're doing right now. That's putting us on a different path from an organizational level. From a technology level, it's keeping our ears to the ground as far as what's happening out there that's going to drive businesses forward as well from a technology perspective. So we're constantly thinking about and paying attention to what are those emerging technologies. I mean, obviously right now it's AI and automation for sure, but there's still a lot of companies who haven't gotten other things done yet, whether it be security or cloud implementation, et cetera. And it all starts with leadership. So I try my best to talk business to business, leader to leader with a lot of these companies to help them understand that technology isn't, obviously it's not as simply nice to have. It really should be a strategic advantage to you and your organization to propel you forward and help them to understand that as best they can.
Brian, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing your story and your insights. To our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about KPInterface, visit kpinterface.com or connect with Brian on LinkedIn. Thanks again for tuning in to a Profound Sit Down. Stay curious, stay connected, and we'll see you next time.